right, so we should dive deeper into all the drama in college football here. Listen, this year's college football playoff bracket, it is set. Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Alabama, they all get the nod, while an undefeated Florida State squad was left out. Not to mention, there's Georgia as well. Now, listen, there's been a lot of strong reactions to FSU's exclusion. So we checked in on our resident Noles fan, Generic Mike, for the state of the program.
Is this it? I'm here. You didn't want me to be here, but I'm here. It's Generic Mike. It's the CFP. Where are we? We're not there. I wonder why. Have you thought about it? How does it make you feel? Ooh, so you feel good about stepping on poor little Florida State. We don't care about wins. Wins don't matter. Oh, but does the loss matter? It doesn't happen early in the year. Oh, excuse me. Your quarterback's hurt. I'm so sorry. Feel good. You know what makes me feel good? Ooh, Nick Saban. Oh, he's like a little teddy bear. I want to snuggle up to him. You know what makes me feel even better? Oh, my gosh. You can put him with Jim Harbaugh. Oh, my gosh. That gives me the feels. It always feels good. It feels good, right? Joshua, did you win the national? Are you a national champion of feel goods? It feels good. Or does it actually feel good to win? Because we won. Winning is...
Oh no, we lost our guy Generic Mike due to technical difficulties there. We're going to try to get him back later.
Since he asked the question, winning is pain. No, it does not feel good to win. So maybe you are winning in life because you're in pain right now, Generic Mike.
Yeah, he is in a lot of pain. As you can tell, agonizing pain. We're going to try to get back to Generic Mike later on the show. But listen, let's unpack a little bit of what he said there, and let's get to the top 4 teams, the teams that are in. Joshua, did they get it right?
I think they did, and I know there's a lot of consternation from Florida State fans. Very obviously, you go 13-0 in the regular season, Power 5 conference champion, you get left out. It's something that's not been done. I understand that the players in that locker room must feel awful, coaching staff awful. Like, everybody around that program cannot feel good about this. I think if we're being honest with ourselves sometimes, the honesty makes us feel awful. Truth does not feel good always. And if we went around this room and asked, who do you like, Bama, Florida State, to win a football game? Everybody's going to say Bama if they're being objective. Because of the way Florida State is constructed right now, they are not a team that would win at all. I also look at the quality of the top-end wins that any of these teams have. For Florida State, it would be LSU, it would be Louisville, a win of that caliber, a 3-loss team. When I look at what Michigan did, beat Ohio State, who's a 1-loss team. I look at what Washington did, beat Oregon twice. It came into that game, Pac-12 championship game as a 1-loss team. Same thing with Texas. They got the win over Bama, who's a 1-loss conference champ. Bama's got the win over a previously undefeated Georgia team. They proved to us that they can win at the top level. And unfortunately, Florida State did not have that opportunity. But I'm not going to play the guessing game, and especially with the backup quarterback.
But you are playing a guessing game if you're deciding that you just think Alabama is better than Florida State. Because you know what? One of these teams did everything they were asked to do. They won every single game, and they won 2.5 games without their starting quarterback, and they're getting no credit. They were in the top 4 earlier in the week. All they do is they go win, beat a top 15 opponent in Louisville, defense dominant, and then they get left out of the CFP in favor of an Alabama team that, by the way, only 8 days ago needed a miracle play in 4th and 31 to beat Auburn. And everyone is forgetting that because they're saying, hey, they beat Georgia. That's so great. This is not a dominant Alabama team that we have seen in years past. They are getting credit for the SEC success in years past. That's not how this is supposed to go. This is, despite them saying the 4 best, it's always been the 4 most deserving. Resume has always mattered until this year, the very first year that an undefeated Power 5 champion is left out. I am sick for Florida State. I think it's the wrong decision, and I honestly cannot believe that the committee did it.
It's an interesting thing because Alabama beat Georgia. We know at their top end that they can compete for a title, that Georgia was the #1 team. Florida State did not show that. Again, didn't have the opportunity, did not show that. You mentioned that they won 2.5 games without their starting quarterback. 1.5 of those teams wouldn't be even eligible to play in the CFP this year because one of them didn't win enough games and the other one was an FCS team. Like, I feel like there wasn't enough meat on the bone for us to feel good putting them in there, given what their resume says in terms of record, that's not the team that we would have seen.
But this is, instead of, typically in college football, we celebrate teams that are resilient, that find ways to win, that rely on their defense or continue to win with their backup quarterback. Your team made a college football playoff with a third-string quarterback because they got the benefit of the doubt because it looked pretty. But this team, it didn't look pretty. They struggled. They had to come back in these games. They played with a third-string quarterback in this game, even though that's not the quarterback that they would actually have in the semifinal. And they get penalized for all of this. I think it sets a terrible precedent to show that these games don't matter. You can't start the season and say, if we take care of our business, we'll be in the playoff, because that didn't happen for Florida State.
I think the games do matter. I think the other circumstances get factored into it as well. It didn't have to look. It had to be pretty. It's not about looking. It had to be pretty. What we did in 14.
It shouldn't have to.
No, what we did in 14 was
Given
beautiful, though, right? I mean, 250-plus yards for Cardale Jones, 3 touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott running the football all up and down the field. Defense that absolutely stifled a Heisman finalist. And Florida State, defense, all the credit in the world. But you're telling me a team that led 3-0 at halftime in the conference championship game against Louisville was going to be able to go up against a Michigan and move the ball an inch in that game? That's wild to me.
Michigan was only up 10-0 at halftime of their championship game.
We're not gonna.
I'm just saying, you can find arguments that poke holes in Florida State, but we're still talking about an Alabama team that nearly lost to Auburn, barely made a bowl game.